All right, I also now want to bring in a couple of other friends of mine who happen to be well known in the world of organized crime. Michael Franzese was a longtime capo with the Colombo crime family. He's now an author who has worked with the NCAA and professional sports to help prevent gambling problems. And Sammy the Bull Gravano was once an underboss from the Gambino family. He now helps debunk the inner workings of his former profession. His amazing podcast, Our Thing, is available everywhere and on YouTube, and he's got lots and lots of fans. To the two of you, it's great to have you back on the show. I cannot wait for this conversation. Michael, I'm going to start with you. I guess it's a pretty simple question. Does any of this, what I just reported, and all the other headlines that go with it, does it surprise you?
Not at all, Ashleigh. I got to tell you, that was a great opening. You really covered it well. You know, let me put it this way. It's not a surprise at all. I mean, gambling has been major business in our former lives, you know, forever. And I say this, prohibition was terrific. You know, guys made a lot of money, but it came and went. I was in the gas business. Terrific. I had my run, 7 or 8 years, comes and goes. But gambling in that life is never going to go away. What happened here, I believe, is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a major business for the guys. They love it. They're good at it. And, you know, unfortunately, professional and college athletes, you know, they're always at risk because gambling among athletes, it's an extension of their competitive spirit. They like to raise the stakes in the competition. This is who they are. This has been my experience with them. And they're always going to gamble. They're always going to get themselves in trouble. You know, they're not all Michael Jordans that can afford any money that he loses. He'll never have a problem because he can cover any bet. But a lot of these guys get in trouble. They get involved with the wrong people. And before you know it, we have a whole deal like this.
You know, Sammy, when I read about like physical brutality, like goons descending on these victims who ran up big bets, who were cheated and ran up big bets and then got beaten up to get the money, I kind of thought, that stuff ended in the 70s, but clearly it didn't. And I wanted to ask you about the mob family involvement. 4 out of 5 of the famous mob families in New York were involved. I didn't think they ever worked on anything together, ever. Where am I wrong?
Well, they did work together. There was the Concrete Club. When they have mutual connections and they can bring it together, they work together. On the Concrete case, they used different unions and different, everybody had their own connections for stuff. They put it all together. It was very powerful. And then they split the money. But it's not a normal thing with gambling, I don't think. Usually it's separated in different families. I never heard of this. And when the show is over, I'd like to know where you could buy that machine.
Kind of had a feeling you were going to say that, Sammy. But before I leave that topic for a second, I'm still kind of stuck in the 70s and in the movies. And I want to ask you realistically, from what you know today, like how bad does the violence get when it comes to these debt collectors today? Are they just a punch in the nose like the indictment read, or are they breaking legs?
I don't know. I really haven't done that you know, when they're coming in with 50, 100, 200,000 to play, I can't see how they lose, they leave. They're pretty rich people, and I can't see they're up against the mob and they're saying, I'm not going to pay, where you'd have to give them a beating. Some guys would do that. I don't think that's necessary. And this is where they're really going to get in trouble. Without the violence in this case, just like Michael said, this has been around forever. This is gambling. A case like this, if there's no violence, these guys will plea out to 5 or 6 year sentence, go in and do their time, 3-4 years, and be out, look like a hero. There's no reason to get beatings. And I don't think that a lot of these people, I think government has always turned around and exaggerated cases, just like they did in the P. Diddy case. They put it into a RICO case, didn't belong in a RICO case, and they lost the case. With a RICO, it's almost impossible for them to lose. So
I'm also really confused about how the professional athletes get roped into A, being convinced to come and sit at the table to make it look legit, and B, fake an injury so we can all make a little money off the the spread. Maybe Michael, if you could explain to me, how does the members of the racket, how do they approach these coaches and athletes to ask for those two things? Do something, throw a game, fake an injury, or come and take part in these poker games so that we can fleece all these rich people?
Well, quite often you don't have to convince these guys to do it. They're on their streets sometimes. They have relationships. They meet with somebody. It's like anything else. You get around them. They get to trust you a little bit. You talk about making some money. Who knows? If he's a real gambler, maybe they lost some money. They want to make it up. And, they came around us a lot because, hey, we can work with these guys. They're never going to tell on us. They're going to protect us. We can make some money with them. Why not? You got to remember this, Ashleigh. When you're trying to, compromise the outcome of a game, it's never about winning or losing. It's always about the point spread. So if you have a player that, allegedly, let's say that team is favored to win by 10 or 12 points, and that player is either on the bench or out with an injury, and he doesn't contribute, and he tells his partner there, hey, bet the under because I'm not going to be there. Well, who's hurt in his mind? We're not losing. We're just not going to cover the spread. So we made a few bucks. We didn't really hurt the team. And that's how they think of it, and that's how we can convince them. Hey, listen, we don't want you to lose. Just don't cover the spread. You'll make some money.
I got 10 seconds left, but I got to ask this question. And Sammy, I have to get you to answer it. If it's possible that somebody in this syndicate decided to turn, and the old term is rat out the others, what do you think is in store for that person that turned on the others?
Well, more than likely in the mob, we killed them. I turned myself, but normally that's what they'll do. They'll kill them. I don't think this is to that degree. These people are not going to be facing life sentences, stuff like that. These are small sentences that they'll plea out. Everybody will pound their chest. They won. The answer to the other question is, how do you get them in? Greed. I see the coach made $100 million. What is he doing in the middle of this? How much greed? How much money do you want? And you put your whole career and everything on the line. That young kid who's saying that I'm faking injury and blow the game. I mean, they come out of a tough area, most of them, and they have a great career, a great future, and they throw it down the drain for greed.
I think you make a really good point. You make a lot of good points.
Yeah. They'll meet you on the street.
I just want to tell you, sometimes I learn more from you guys than I do reading every indictment that I've ever done in my career. And I am so appreciative when you join me on the show and you speak from the hip and you tell me the real thing. Michael Franzese and Sammy the Bull Gravano, thank you both. I look forward to seeing you again.
You got it.
Thank you so much.